Boundaries are many things, and one of these things are personal limits of things that we will and will not do for other people, and also personal limits of behaviour we will and will not accept from other people. Narcissistic people have no respect for other people's boundaries whatsoever, as they feel incredibly entitled to get their own way. They will go all out to destroy you so that they can feel better that they did not get their own way with you.
There's a lot of women out there who've never had a positive relationship with any male in their life. Not only not a positive relationship, but really a series of pretty negative relationships. And so women like that are very leery of any expression of male ability of any sort, because they can't distinguish productive competence from arbitrary power. Young women are much more likely to be seduced by psychopaths than older women, because the psychopaths mimic competence. They're confident, and women read confidence as a marker of competence.
And you know what, truly, as I look at this and think about this, truly my mom's boyfriend comes to mind. One thing I've realized in my own personal observation of this guy, through a set of eyes that truly, they do work correctly. Boy, can I see things accurately in this life. Both a blessing and a curse. But I'll say this. This guy has way too much confidence when you try to match that to the actual amount of competence that's underlying. Is overfilled, is blustering, bolstering, but it's not real competence. It's a fake. I've seen these people my whole life, here and there and everywhere. It's a fake, but because my mom doesn't have eyes for it, she assumes the same thing. You can tell. She just sees the confidence, and that impresses itself upon her circuitry, so she assumes, oh, therefore he's competent. He's not competent. I could see very, very, very many signs, little to you, but big to me, where I see the huge holes in his operational mechanisms. They're very apparent to me all over the place, all throughout life, living with him for many years myself, seeing it all up front. He's a facade, he's a fake. It's all bullshit. Should have found someone better, obviously.
That opens up the space for exploitation, because if you can mimic confidence, then you look competent. And of course they get exploited by people like that, and they think, well, that's what men are like. And then women like that, you know, they have boys, and then they're afraid of the boys whenever they express anything looking like masculine competence, and they basically emasculate the boys, and then the boys get bitter, and then they mistreat women, and the whole bloody thing just spirals out of control.
And the real sad thing is that in my case, wherever it is genuine competence, regardless of the amount of confidence that underlies it, but relatively recently in my life, it's been properly bolstered with the appropriate level of confidence to back it. But even with that legitimate competence, it's not taken at face value for what it is. It's constantly disapproved. Not good. It's all illusions. When they see wrong, they mistake the one for the other, and they mistake the other for the one. Not good.
And that's where we are. There's a lot of... But I could comment more about borderline personality disorder. I think I have enough mental energy to do that tonight. So, technically speaking, it's often considered the female variant of antisocial personality disorder. So it's classified, or it's classified in the domain of externalizing disorders, acting out disorders. And I think what happens, we don't understand borderline personality disorder very well. I mean, it's characterized by tremendous impulsivity, radical confusion of identity, and then this pattern of idealization of people with whom the person afflicted with the disorder is associating, with radical idealization of those people and then radical devaluation of them.
That is to say, in other words, 1 month, 1 year, 1 season, her son could be the best son in the world. Oh, what a great son, what a great person. I lived through this phase. One moment, 1 season, you're that, and then the next season, you're the opposite. Shame, shame. No. The thing you don't realize is that this human being, the soul in that person, is the same soul, the same person the entire time.
And then there's another theme that sort of weaves along with it, which is the proclivity of people with borderline personality disorder to presume that they will be abandoned, and then to act in a manner that makes such abandonment virtually certain.
Let's say in a somewhat tangential or oblique kind of way, this is also true in a kind of sense when we observe how my mother is acting and treating me. So, although I think other explanations of this same behavior they come a little closer to the heart of the real substance, this is nevertheless not that inaccurate, because in a certain kind of sense, yeah, she self-fulfills the prophecy by preempting the situation with the catalyzing prompts that necessarily cause the one in my position to rip off and protest and all this, and then it's self-fulfilling prophecy because it's all played into in advance. Sick.
And so it's a very complicated disorder, but that, I think, gets at the crux of it. One of the things that's interesting about people with borderline personality disorder, in my experience, is that they're often quite intelligent. They seem capable of thinking through the nature of their problems and analyzing them and discussing it, but not capable whatsoever of implementing any solutions.
Truly, this is another wow moment in terms of describing my mother and how it all has come along. So when she was younger, she was known for being relatively intelligent. She had a high-ish kind of IQ and an academic potential, very much like me as well. But there's a little bit of a difference. See, there's two types of high IQ. One of them is the autistic type of high IQ. It's like the slanted or strained type, where you have a savantish quality about you in a rigidified sense, but it's not all-encompassing. The other type of intelligence is that you're smart, but you could figure out subtle things too about life accurately in ways that other types can't. So this really describes it well, because you've seen an implementation when it comes down to having her recognize what the issues are. When we had these big blow-ups back in 2017, 2018, around there, and we got my mom to read 15, 20, 25 books. When you have read 15, 20, 25 books, you have learned the academic side at the conscious level. You've gotten like, oh, I understand this, great, right. You understand it, but you don't get it. You spent 6 months, a year plus, learning logically these concepts, but a million times over you would read the same thing over and over, and then you go to your practical life to apply it, is no change in your action. You do the same mistakes. What the fuck is that? Now we learned today. I always wondered my whole life, what is that? I don't understand how you can learn it with only a superficial part of your brain, but not incorporate the learning in the deeper zone. I don't know what that is. It's this. It's a psychiatric disorder of a type 2, or a personality disorder of a type as well. It's a logical knowing. You have the intellectual, logical capacity to understand these things, but they can't change the thing because they are potorach, on the rails, no movement. Exactly that.
And technically, there's no relationship between IQ and conscientiousness. It's very weird, because if you read the neuropsychological literature and you read about the functions of the prefrontal cortex, they're usually conceptualized in intellectual terms. And they're associated with planning and strategizing and so forth. And that's what conscientiousness is planning and strategizing and implementation. But the correlation between IQ and conscientiousness is zero. And so is the correlation between working memory and conscientiousness. Zero. And 0 is a very low correlation, right? I mean, really, it's hard to find things in psychology that are correlated at 0.
Describes her again perfectly. Intelligent on paper, like the kind of intelligence where if you gave her a textbook to dryly learn, rigidly logical concepts and then put a multiple choice test in front of her, she would tend to score significantly higher than the average person. But that's it. That intelligence in her case, for her brain, does not translate to conscientiousness. She has pure academic higher intelligence, but that intelligence does not translate to anything in the meaningful volitionary aspect in life. She's one of the least conscientious people I've ever met in my life. That's crazy. So exactly what Jordan Peterson is saying here is correct. The correlation is 0. They're not connected things. So anytime I correctly rebuke my mother about what she's doing wrong because she's not being conscientious, she says, oh no, I'm smart, I'm intelligent. No, you're not getting it. It doesn't matter. You're not intelligent in the way you need to be intelligent, which is the converted into conscientiousness. Why are you not conscientious as a human being?
Things tend to be correlated to some degree. They tend to be interrelated. The borderline seems to be able to strategize and to abstract, but not to be able to implement. And so the intellect per se seems to be functional, but it's not embodied in action. So it can be frustrating to be associated with someone who has borderline personality disorder, because they can tell you what the problem is and even tell you what the solution might be, but there's no implementation.
God, that's exactly it. That right there is my whole life with my mom. My whole life from birth till now. Exactly that and only that. Sad. Really sad. My whole life I've watched it be exactly like that. No change. Only talk from the dry part of the mind without the, proper application. The fucking worst curse on the planet. Now, anyway, the reason this is being brought up, borderline personality disorder, of course, what is it? It's another leg or arm of the multi-clustered cluster B personality group. They're all related. They're different forms of the same underlying substantive deficiency in a person. That's why most people who have symptoms of one, most of them will have symptoms for all of them, because it's all the same energy underneath it all.
So maybe something went wrong developmentally. We don't know exactly how these sorts of things come about. I would also say, to some degree, they didn't get properly socialized between that critical period of development between 2 and 4. And you see the same thing with adult males who grow up to be antisocial. Because a large proportion of adult males who grow up to be antisocial are aggressive as children, as 2-year-olds. And so there's a small proportion of 2-year-olds who are quite aggressive. They'll kick and hit and bite and steal if you put them with other 2-year-olds. It's about 5% of the males, smaller fraction of the females. But most of them are socialized by the time they're 4. But there's a small percentage who aren't, and they tend to stay antisocial, and they tend to turn into long-term offenders. And the critical period for socialization development seems to be between 2 and 4. And it seems to be mediated by pretend play and rough and tumble play and those sorts of mechanisms. And if it isn't instantiated by the age of 4, it doesn't happen. And it doesn't look like it's addressable.
Wow, and sadly to say also, that characterizes my life too. I was between 2 and 4, I had virtually no interaction with other kids or any socialization, or even particularly most of what was kind of deprived was that rough and tumble play, which psychiatrists and psychologists say that you need that in order to not become psychopathic yourself. The more you're given that from parents and the whole community, no one ever fucking played with me or did anything. And one of my big complaints too about how I was raised, like, what the fuck? I was raised like a still object, just set up on a porch to sit there my whole life as I would grow older and older and older, and no interaction. The fuck? So no wonder you're looking at the fucking problems now, huh? Maybe you should have done it the right way from the beginning. What, you didn't have people around you to tell you how to do it right? Doesn't matter, it's still your fault. You should have known.
No, there are dialectic behavior therapies that have been developed for people with borderline personality disorder, and they're purported to be successful.
The covert narcissistic mother. Now, this is a topic that's very close to my heart because, unfortunately, my own mother is a covert narcissist, so this is something that I know very well. And in this video, I would encourage you to leave comments and maybe share your experience if you also have a narcissistic mother that is covert in nature. So a covert narcissistic mother is generally more withdrawn. She is more introverted. She prefers to do things on her own or with a closer group of friends. But she does very much need the same narcissistic supply that an overt narcissistic mother needs. So a covert narcissistic mother is obviously harder to spot because she is very good at disguising her true nature and showing others that she is kind and that she's generous and she is caring. People don't see what she's really like behind closed doors. She does slip up from time to time, but generally it's those closest to her that see the way that she behaves. This type of mother has a lot of issues with her own self-esteem, and she is hypersensitive to criticism. She avoids taking responsibility for her actions, believes that other people are responsible for her negative emotions. So it's usually another person's fault that she is suffering. So she blames others a lot, and this is something that she does habitually.
There you go. Business as usual. That's the typical. Everything here is consistent with every single other thing here being presented, in terms of how it's consistent and how it matches with the real situation. That's exactly it. What? She feels offended? It can't possibly occur to her brain or mind how it could be that she's the reason why the initial offense had started from her, which caused a natural and righteous moral indignation on my part, which then led to her supposed offense. But that's not offense. That's called, you're supposed to be chastised now because you did wrong. You're broken. Duh.
She is very passive-aggressive and plays the victim card quite often, and she has very poor boundaries.
What she means here, of course, is that by that she has poor boundaries means she has a poor ability to recognize and respect boundaries around her.
In many cases, she will withhold critical information, especially if she knows that this will inconvenience her in some way, or if this will affect the quality of her life in some way.
Haven't we covered this before? Amazing how it lines up like heaven stars, every single one, perfect click, 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 everything. My God. We literally were talking about this earlier in one of the earlier recorded segments. Conveniently not mentioning to her own boyfriend regarding what happened that day. The context, that's important information. When I told it to him, remember his reaction, he was like, "Na pravda?" He was like, "Really? For real?" And you know what he had to do? He then had to say, he didn't say, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter if that's the truth. You're still wrong." He said, "I don't believe you." That's the only way he could justify his continued persecution against me. But that also is indicative of something. It means that he tacitly admitted by that showing or that conduct that if what I said was true, that she really did say that, I'm absolved. He couldn't handle allowing the possibility of that, but he also is a man with at least a man logical head enough to realize, well, I can't say that it's okay that she did that, so he has to pretend that it didn't happen. Barbara, you did do it though, didn't you? So we can't pretend anymore. So in hindsight is justified, therefore. These idiots and their stupid non-working brains, all of them, disgusting.
So she withholds information that may be very important to others.
Wow, I was choking my mother because she wanted me to fix her computer? No, that's not correct. What about the part where she told me to move out for no reason all of a sudden in front of my grandma out of the blue? Oh, she doesn't mention that part. Why does she keep forgetting the critical key parts, but she won't forget the parts that make her look good? Oh, so selective memory, right? Sick. Burn in hell deeply.
She does actually act in a very entitled manner. She can be quite demanding and will expect people to do things her way. So you may notice that a covert narcissistic mother will make plans to meet at a certain time or meet at a certain place. She will expect everybody to cater to the way she wants things done. She isn't very considerate of others. Sometimes she says one thing but does another. So covert narcissistic mothers do want attention, but they generally express this desire of attention differently to the overt narcissistic mother. Now, in regards to her children, she believes that she is entitled to her children's attention.
And you know what? One other thing I wonder is, at some point, she's listening to all this. She's getting the feedback. We're all going to be sitting together multiple times to review everything and get to the hold everybody to the fullest account, so that there's no possible way to escape anymore. She thinks there's still some situation where I'm going to be apologizing for something, and that's not how this planet works and this universe. So. But here's the thing, but she'll be listening to all this and she's hearing people describe her like, you know, you feel entitled to your children's attention and you want to do things this way, you want to do things that way. Once she admits this and realizes that yes, all of these descriptions do fully match what she looks like in life, you can't deny that, then what's the next step? She'll say, yeah, but here's where the narcissist brain doesn't get it. They'll say, yeah, but isn't that everybody? I don't understand. Isn't that how all mothers are supposed to be then? I thought I was just being the thing that all mothers are supposed to. I'm assuming everyone's the same way like me. Or that they're supposed to be. No! The biggest surprise after 60 plus years is that you're that much different than everybody else and you never realized it. It's some kind of inability to realize how different you really are. No. That's the same problem that people have when they're colorblind. You don't even realize that there's colors that exist that you're not able to neurally perceive.
She will show that she is hurt. She will express her hurt feelings by playing the victim or by getting her son or daughter to feel sorry for her. And if she sees that you are unhappy about something, so if she sees that you are not willing to do something she wants or aren't willing to cater to her demands, she will tell you that you are inconsiderate, that you are not a very good daughter or son.
You did not bring me a chair. We'll never stop laughing at that, how ridiculous that is, for the rest of eternity, until it finally drills it all the way into the deepest part of the broken brain. Oh, how life is really supposed to work. Reprogram the broken ones.
She will make sure that you know that she is not happy. If you in any way confront her, she is a master at making you feel guilty. And she will make sure that you see that she is way more upset than you are. She uses many sabotaging behaviors.
Oh, wait, that's right. Go back a second. What she just said there is another golden gem, another gold nugget. She will go out of her way to try to have herself appear as she is more upset than you are. That's brilliant. This actually just occurred to me right now. That's completely new for me to realize this. Wow, what an appreciation of that. There's another thing that matches. So, For example, when I'm getting upset by her to the point that I'm reacting to like a level, 70 or 75 level of upset, a normal, compassionate, empathetic, loving, gracious, biblically descripted mother would be like, oh my God, my poor son, oh, I can't believe I feel bad for you and I'm sorry. But her idea of resolving the tension that situation creates isn't to go into taking responsibility. It is about dominating the situation. And how she's going to dominate it? Well, obviously, I'm naturally correctly showing that I'm upset, but what's she going to do? She's going to play up the inversion. Remember, Satanism is inversion. She's going to play up the inversion so that she feigns and stages that it's actually her on her side who's more upset. Not by proper moral reason, but it doesn't matter. The illusion, but it's such a bad illusion. We're all still laughing at you and making videos about you to this day, and it's just so dumb. It's not convincing because our brains are more powerful than yours, and you're blind compared to us. See, the stupid fucking little Maurubella cannot convince a fucking giant eagle how to fucking see correctly. It's such a joke. So dumb. Humble yourselves and just bow and crawl.
So she needs to take her daughter or son down a notch. She will find ways to plant a seed of doubt and make you doubt your own abilities, your own capabilities.
Thank God that God himself has inoculated me fully successfully against any such crap. One thing I could never be brought to do is to not believe in myself, or that believe that anybody else who's wrong is actually right when they're not right. Impossible. When God gave me the full vision now in my life, no human being can ever fool me on anything. It's hopeless. You're all a fucking joke.
Generally, I would say that most covert narcissistic mothers are very immature, and they do have a type of meltdown that you sometimes see in children if things do not go their way. So like I said earlier, they will create a lot of drama. Covert narcissistic mothers also find it a lot of fun to antagonize others, or to create hostility, for instance, amongst siblings.
Yeah, where a normal human being would feel extremely guilty and otherwise extremely uncomfortable to allow her own boyfriend and her own grown son to be conflicted against each other. Barbara Winslow has no problem with it whatsoever. She just relaxes and continues living like that's no problem at all that it's in that situation. In fact, to really bring in a relevant story, about a year plus ago, I had a kind of relative come in, Richard Schwiech, old man, to visit us. Well, he's a normal, respectful, fully empathetic guy, not a psychopath like Marek or any of these other people, but overall fully functional. You could tell, he has he's not colorblind. He sees all the colors, so you can tell in 3 seconds when you talk to him. Beautiful. Well, what does he do? A guy comes in from Poland. It's the first time I ever met him in my life. Within 24 to 48 hours, he took on a personal mission. After learning of our brief family history, he took on a personal mission of coming up to me, going up to the mom's boyfriend, having separate multiple conversations with each of us, going, what is going on between you two guys? You should be reconciling. This is a huge travesty. I fucking turned to my mom and I said, yeah, I know. Funny how you just show up here as a stranger. In 2 days, you've done more work, more diplomatic work towards working towards dismantling that problem than my own mother has put in openly and clearly in front of everybody in 20 years combined. So what the hell is that? See, that's not normal. People operate by instinct. Either your instinct is correct, so you're always operating correct, or your instinct is broken, so your manifestations are broken. Hanging out for 20 years not fixing it is a broken manifestation. Go shame yourself.
So she will find ways to use one sibling against the other. So she isn't comfortable with her children.
Or in this case, one person against another, whoever's around her.
Leading successful, happy lives and having a good relationship with each other, especially if one of those two siblings do not want a relationship with the narcissistic mother. The reality is that the covert narcissistic mother isn't happy with herself. She doesn't really like herself very much, but she will portray to others that she is actually very competent. A narcissistic mother can be very vindictive towards others, and because she is entitled, because she does believe that she deserves special treatment, she will expect that from others. In relationships, she will be quite controlling of her partner and will not tolerate certain behaviors. She will want her partner to cater to her needs, mostly her needs.
Yeah, this is the one part I can't seem to figure out though. For some reason it really still continues to escape. This is probably one of the last things on the whole earth that I have not yet figured out. It really is. How is she still with this guy? And for what reason? She doesn't see. I can't really tell. Their whole dynamic of their relationship is so hidden from me. It's like I've never even seen who or what they are. They don't show. They're when two people form a relationship. You got a guy and a girl in a standard relationship, straight relationship. When they come together, the mixing of the two creates a distinct entity that is distinct from either one of the two individuals. So there's the one person, there's the other person, and then when you mix them together, the combined effect has its own spirit and essence, in a sense. And with my better relationships, I've really had this experience. When I look at her and her boyfriend, they don't have this. When I look at them standing together, they look like two separate people who just happen to be in close proximity to one another. They don't make that combined glowing essence that you see most other normal, healthy relationships have. When you put the two people together, there becomes like a third soul, which is the combination of the two that lingers around them as if they're one person. I never saw that with my mom and this guy. It's just empty, like two empty shells.
I would like to say through my own experience that my mother has been quite envious in the past, or has tried to sabotage a lot of positive, happy moments in my life, and has tried to make me doubt myself, has tried to derail certain situations, like, relationships, or studying. If I wanted to study something and further my education so I could improve myself, she would find things to say to dissuade me from this. She would say a lot of things that weren't very supportive. And another thing you will notice is that having a mother like this, you probably never felt comforted by your mother, because in a way she is an empty shell of a person. Like, she obviously loves her children in her own way, but she isn't capable of unconditional love. She isn't capable of properly nurturing her children. She finds it difficult to connect. And I have to be honest, I never felt comforted by my mum's hugs, and I never understood why as a child. I never understood why I felt this emptiness.
Yep, same here. Same exact problem. My mom never fucking hugged me. Ever. On the rare occasion she would, it would be such an awkward hug. I'd have to physically demonstrate it to you so you could, and then tell you, imagine your mom hugging you like this. People fall over when I show them. They're like, what? That's psychotic. What kind of mother would hug her son like that? I said, mine. They said, that's psychological abuse since you were born. I'm so sorry, John. Do you understand? The fucking hugs feel empty. Like it comes from a shell. There's no energy in them. There's something wrong with the programming of this person from the beginning.
And I actually found this feeling of comfort in other people. more than I did in my own mother, which is actually quite a sad thing.
Yep, same here as well. Exactly what she says is the same.
But unfortunately, this is part of it. Another thing I notice is that covert mums like interrupting you. So you may be midstream in the middle of a sentence and she'll interrupt you if she's lost interest, or if she doesn't want to continue the conversation, or she doesn't want to listen to what you have to say. She will interrupt you.
Yep, told the whole story about this already.
Or change the subject very quickly. And also, in my experience, my mum has very selective amnesia when it comes to certain things that happened in the past. So she never remembers things the way I do. She always, says that I remember things wrong. And of course, there was a hell of a lot of gaslighting.
Yeah, my mom says the same thing. She tries to say the same thing. It's impossible. I don't even know what gives them the boldness to even try to attempt to say something so clearly false. Or do they really believe it? That part I can't figure out. There has to be some kind of true brain damage or something on the part of these people.
So covert mothers are very, very good at gaslighting and changing the narrative and changing the story and saying that things didn't happen that way. And then you end up feeling very crazy and you're not sure what to think, and you're left in this constant state of confusion and cognitive dissonance in many different things that have happened in your life, right? And also, lastly, I'd like to say that covert narcissistic mothers crave so much attention from their children that the children become either parentified, so the child almost steps into the role of the mother and actually ends up looking after the mother and the mother's needs and her emotional needs, instead of the way it should be, the mother looking after the children's. Because she's also very immature and she maybe didn't get her needs met in her childhood, the child actually becomes the caregiver in many ways, or the friend, or the psychologist. So there's a lot of enmeshment in a relationship with a covert narcissistic mother and her child. So enmeshment, parentification, and in some cases infantilization as well. It sort of depends. She tries to keep the child weak. She doesn't encourage the child to grow, to study. She doesn't want the child to leave home. She clings on to the child and wants it to be dependent on her, wants to keep the child close to home so she can control the child. So yeah, that is a covert narcissistic mother in a nutshell. And like I said, a lot of what I've said is also from my own personal experience, but I would really love to hear your experience. So please feel free to share in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it useful, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and please feel free to share this video to see if maybe there's anyone that may find it useful or helpful in any way. Thank you so much for watching.
Today we are talking about the covert narcissistic mother and some of the more bizarre behaviors she might exhibit and strange personality traits that aren't talked about a lot. So if you have a narcissistic mother or stepmother or mother-in-law or grandmother, etc., then today's video is for you. Some of the really strange and bizarre behavioral and personality traits that the covert narcissistic mother will exhibit from time to time. We all have gone over the common personality traits a million times, so today I thought we'd switch it up and discuss some of the more strange traits she might exhibit, because you can't ever have enough information about this type of mother and how to detect one. So let's just dive right in. So one of the first very strange behaviors of a covert narcissistic mother is that she will sabotage herself along with others, specifically other family members and their own children. And they can do this in all sorts of ways. Desire to cause chaos, destruction, and sadness is just too tempting for this woman.
My God, how accurate. 7 months went by without a proper communication and integration between the mother and the son, or healthy dynamic. 7 months of estrangement, essentially. This doesn't only hurt the son, it hurts the mother too. It hurts everybody in the equation. Nobody wins. So there's a perfect example. They'll even hurt themselves.
Also, they enjoy the control they possess to sabotage these things. They are constantly looking for evidence that confirms that they are in control, that they are the ultimate decision maker who will determine what you have or what you don't have.
Yeah, do I get to have my freedom and have my autonomy to stay at home, or do I get to have no choice but to get taken against my will to a hospital, to a psych ward? You know? It's crazy. Do I have my passports, or she could just come in and use a key, walk into my apartment whenever she wants, take any of my things, put it in her locked place? That's psycho.
To them, doing these things is narcissistic supply, and very powerful supply to boot. And it's that constant and continual confirmation that they're looking for. It's the evidence that they need, that they must have to prove to themselves that they are a superior person, and no one and nothing will happen unless they say it can happen. Next, these mothers are beyond committed to being seen by the outside world as this wonderful, kind, and loving mother. Nothing is more important to this woman than her image, and she will do absolutely anything in order to preserve that image, including staying in relationships that are horrible and where no one is happy. So essentially what I'm saying here is she will stay in a horrible relationship and torture every single person who is involved in this relationship.
Wow, including torturing all the people who have to put up with the crap that relationship causes, all the collateral damage that the family members, such as myself, most of all by far, have to put up with. But also pretty much everybody else was related to us. My uncle, who got thrown out for no reason, not a sufficient reason. My grandparents, who couldn't stand the guy my mom's dating. It never ends. No one accepted him. He doesn't fit, but it doesn't matter, because if she likes it, then everybody has to go fucking eat shit. That's true narcissism right there.
Until the other people or the person leaves. She will hang on, making everyone absolutely miserable so that she can control the narrative of what happened, even though it will always be completely and utterly untrue. She wants the control over the narrative that she then will deceive people in the outside world to believe. And she will always, without exception, rewrite history and portray herself into the role of the hero, the victim, or the martyr, or some combination of all three.
Yeah, after all the abuse and the shit that I had to take from this stupid idiot, which she enabled, and all of a sudden, oh no, he's not an idiot, see, my son is so bad, it's all twisting, and it never ends.
But you can bet your bottom dollar she will write herself into playing one of those three roles. Another crazy and bizarre thing these mothers will do is they will hurt themselves if they know it hurts you, inconveniences you, upsets you, or consumes and devours all your time and energy. It's incredibly difficult to wrap your head around this fact. However, it's so true.
Yeah, honestly, how sick it is. She completely stonewalls communication originally, keeps it up that way for months, and meanwhile, me as the responsible person, what do I have to do? Figure out some way to accurately and effectively communicate that she fucked up in a way that everyone can clearly see it and get it. All these videos, how many countless hours of time I have to spend. See, exactly right. It's all sickness. No one else normal would do this. They would just be fine and loving each other normally without this bullshit.
You have to remember, narcissists will go to the lowest levels, the most disturbing levels of human behavior if it gets them what they want or what they consider a win. Amber Heard is a perfect example of a female narcissist who has no problem whatsoever doing something like this disgusting to another person. I'll say it again. This woman, this mother, will go to the ends of the earth to hurt you if that's her goal, even if it requires she hurt herself in the process. Only reason she gives to her kids anyway is for what I call facade maintenance. She has to behave and show evidence to other people, neighbors, teachers, friends, and family that she is this loving, caring mother when absolutely nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah, if it wasn't for this factor, probably there'd be no intrinsic moral factor left that would allow her to appropriately help support a son in this position who genuinely is very sick and have all these issues going on. We all know what they are and more. It's amazing, right? You would think the morality is lacking everywhere. So it's not just a one single coincidence. Oh, but it's okay here. No, the only reason that it's happening, that she's allowing herself to give some funds here and there, isn't so that because it's a moral issue. It's because, so that number one, she looks good, so she could have the privilege of being able to turn to anybody else and say, oh, look, see what kind of mother I am? I help him. I pay for all this. See? It's only an attempt to frame it such that as if it entitles her to some kind of, benevolent consideration to excuse anything. It doesn't matter. See, I pay for him. I give him so that's that. No. That's the bullshit. That's the bullshit right there.
And dear God, don't even get me started on if my father wanted to include my sister and I on a family vacation. I think she would have rather done just about anything other than include us on a vacation.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ. Normal families, by the way, go on vacations together. Even when the kids are adults, they will still do some kind of semi-regular, even if it's once every couple of years or once every few years, it's still done as part of like special life maintenance and celebration. You kidding? You know how many people I know? Normal people who are functional, of high level, like social lives and families, society. People who were invited to people's weddings every other weekend, and they've been invited to like 35 weddings in their whole life. Who have like regular jobs. They're working, higher level corporate office. Guess what? They're going on vacations 3 times a fucking year with their whole family. Why do you think that is? Because they're normal functioning in one domain and all the domains. You know what it's like in my family? I even mentioned this to my mother not tremendously long ago. I said, hey, what the fuck? It's been a long time since I've been on a vacation. Definitely a long time since I've had anything here. Now my mom just goes to Poland whenever she wants to, goes by herself. Never invites me. Disgusting. What the fuck? Not that I'd even want to go, but you should still be inviting me, and I should be the one saying whether I want to or not. She hasn't even invited her own son to go to travel if we're going to the home country. What the fuck?
This type of mother, stepmother, mother-in-law has this uncanny ability to make you feel completely unwelcome and like such an utter and complete burden. And she can do this without ever saying a single word to you.
That's right. She projects this kind of treatment and behavior and this feeling every time. Back years and years ago when I'd still be, we taking rides in her boyfriend's car for whatever reason together. That's exactly how she'd make me feel when I go into their car for us to take a group trip. It's not the John show, it's the fucking them show, and I'm the third wheel. The strangest thing ever. And she makes me feel like I'm the fucking weirdo. Kill yourself, metaphorically speaking. Kill that terrible part. And destroy it once and for all, perhaps, huh?
Next, and this is a really good one, they forget deliberately. And this is so comical to watch and so phony, but it's incredibly effective for this woman. It pulls the wool right over the eyes of others who have never had any significant type of interaction with a human being like this.
Yeah, and to note, by the way, this is something that Sarah was going through when I was dating her. Before she really got to know my mom, meeting a few times, and also witnessing some of the crazy stuff. I'd say my stories reluctantly. I didn't share much at all for several months, and then slowly I started opening up about it because I don't like it, you see. But Sarah couldn't understand it first. She was like, yeah, but I don't understand. How bad could she really be? She's just a regular person. She's your mom. I'm like, nope, she's not a regular person. You have no idea how nuts it is until you see it for yourself. She had no idea. Then, as fate would have it, she witnessed and became involved in some of the interpersonal drama. She watched it. When my mom left one of those days after some argument kind of broke out in my house, which I mentioned bits and pieces of here and there, Sarah broke down crying. And I asked her, and I comforted her. She's like, I've never seen anything like that in my life. I didn't even know that was possible for someone to be like this. I've never met a human being like that. I'm like, yeah, I know. I was raised by one like that. Cluster B type programming, not normal. She's like, yeah, I've never seen anything like that. I didn't know that was possible, John. I'm 20 something years old, in my late 20s, the first time I ever met a human being like that. That's not normal. I said, yeah, I was gaslit by that my whole life. She was so sad for me, she cried.
Narcissistic mothers, again, they understand because they are mothers that they are indeed responsible for doing certain things for their children. There are societal norms that she understands she must adhere to if she wants to be viewed by others as this amazing woman and individual. However, as I mentioned before, she hates and resents that fact that she has to do any of these things. She certainly has no desire or enthusiasm to do these things. So when she decides she just flat out isn't going to do something she has agreed to do, when she's called out about it, she'll claim she totally forgot. Oh, she's so sorry. She just can't believe something that important slipped her mind.
I've shared the story about how she went into my room in my apartment where she does not live and essentially stole my passport and took it without my permission. That's serious. That's a fucking crime, technically. Funny, that's a very big recurring theme in our lives. That she keeps committing essentially what are crimes. Sick. Well, and then I told her once, I said, you can't be taking my passport. Never touch it again. Oh, no problem, no problem. And then within a few months, she took it again. Oh, I don't know, I forgot. You forgot to not respect people's rights? That's an instinct thing, and only when you're fundamentally broken do you forget to respect other people's rights. That's the biggest deficit and dysfunction of all.
And usually as the kids get older, they'll see through her doing this. But to others, they will believe that she actually forgot.
And you know what? Just as a final reminder, in contrast, what's a normal human being, a normal woman supposed to be like, and how is she actually in life, in nature?
To properly understand women, you have to know women want to support you. They want to follow you. They want to look up to you. They want to rely on you. They want to lean on you. Be the strong person they need you to be.